check act cycle into the policy itself. So I encourage council to consider adding this important step to their standard policy development and review process. In that same spirit of structural clarity, I would request that the region make publicly available an up-to-date organizational chart and the job descriptions for all administrative roles. Some job descriptions are available online, but not all of them. And the region's HR policies indicate that annual performance reviews are based on job descriptions, and that they are updated primarily to reflect work that's already being performed rather than the work that is intentionally directed by strategic objectives. And so within that structure, we're really creating a reactive and not intentional structure. And that starts to allow us to define accountability rather than strategy defining the performance. So we're really driving activity rather than really driving towards something that's meaningful. And when that happens, it really does become difficult to measure whether departmental efforts are advancing council's stated goals. And so the region hired an HR director last spring, and I see that there is a clear opportunity here to strengthen performance management by linking policy commitments, defined responsibilities, measurable outputs, and review cadence. And in my view, strengthening this alignment between policy, performance, and strategy should be treated as a strategic governance initiative. Good governance is not simply about adopting policies. We've shown that we're really good about that, but this is about ensuring that structure, responsibility, and performance are aligned in practice. And I hope these recommendations offer you some support in that light. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dinesh. And yeah, I see that OP policy, that the link for OP policy 49 on our website does not work. So thanks for flagging that.
Mayor, if I could interject just for a second. I just want to note that our IT requested I hit record on here. He's having an issue. This is being live streamed, but I don't believe there's any sound available on the Facebook stream. So this can be uploaded after the fact, but there is a technical issue that he's having a hard time navigating. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. That's why it would have popped up and said I was recording.
Thank you. Great. Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Okay. So next person on the list to address council this evening is Mr. David White.
Hey folks, how's everybody doing this evening? My name is Dave White. I'm from the community of South Brookfield. I'm the president of Queens County ATV Association. And I just wanted to address council to provide an update with some of the work that we've been doing. We actually had an event planned for this weekend. Unfortunately, we got a little snow this week. I don't know if anybody noticed. And that's made it so we've had to postpone that event. But I thought I would share with council some of the plans coming into that I expect to hold true as we redo it. So we've actually completed an economic impact forecast for that event based on anticipated attendance of 50, which we think is very conservative, and the 18 different groups or individuals that had booked accommodations in Liverpool to attend the event. So we're actually looking at, very conservatively, approximately $7,000 to an $8,000 economic impact from that event in a day, through $1,000 raised for 2 different community groups, over $3,400 in local accommodations, approximately $1,000 in fuel, and another $1,000 in planned meals. So I just wanted to be able to provide an update to council on the impact of the Municipal Road Trails Act, and that's all going to be in one day. So we're really looking forward to continuing to work with council to make that a reality. I know we are a little behind on our launch date, but my understanding is we're very close on that. And we have got our signs all installed, so we're just kind of waiting for the final installs, which we expected to have ready for this weekend. But like I said, we've had to delay that event. But we are looking forward to continued cooperation with the municipality, and I just thought it was worth noting that we had an early forecast on what we expected the impact of that day to be, just so council was aware of the planning that was going on to utilize the access that you've provided. That's it for me, unless anybody's got any questions about what we've been up to.
No, that's great. Thanks very much, Dave. I appreciate your updates and understanding from staff that things are on track. The signs on our end. And unfortunate that the event for this weekend is delayed. Please do keep us in the loop with when you expect that event to be occurring, the rescheduled version of the event, because I know that there's a lot of interest amongst council and in the broader community. So thanks very much, Dave.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
And same to you. And then last but certainly not least, we have Jill Forrest representing the North Queens Community School and the Playground Committee. Take it away, Jill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and member of council. We just wanted to give a quick update. I'm, as Mr. Mayor said, with the North Queens Community School Playground Committee. A lot of people may not realize, but our regional school board, although each elementary school houses lovely playgrounds, some are in better shape than others, the school board will take care of helping us maintain those. But if they get to a point like ours that need replacement, it is upon the community themselves, parents, volunteers, to fund that money, fundraise and come up with the money and find the appropriate equipment and make that happen. So our school has a playground that is well over 20 years old. I'm not sure the exact year, unfortunately. I apologize. We have a front playground and rear playground that are both in great despair. We have a small committee of 4 volunteers and parents that have banded together. I'm sorry, I have 2 young boys. I find it very funny that I'm on a call. So 4 community members, volunteers, and parents have banded together to make this committee. As of last May, or since last May, apologies, we've raised $127,000 towards our $300,000 goal to allow our students at the community school and the broader community somewhere that they can play, be safe, and be proud of as we invite other people outside of the community to our area. Our goal is simple, but it's a powerful one. We want to build that safe, inclusive, accessible playground, which we don't have right now, for our school, which is 99 elementary students, for the families, visitors, and the broader community members. Currently, like I said, we don't have a community playground in our area. The school is the only one that houses that. There's a playground at the exhibition grounds that is locked up, though, anytime that there isn't an event there. And our local restaurant has a small area to play on. Again, not a community playground that has been open to everyone else at all times and provided by the municipality or anything like that. So for our children, the schoolyard is the only park and playground. It's a gathering place where they can simply be kids. Without other recreation infrastructure in our community, the playground just brings much more importance to us having somewhere for them to really be kids, be active, and sorry, I'm getting feedback. Be active and be kids. So our playground will promote inclusive and barrier-free play, will follow accessibility standards, which is huge, provide age-appropriate opportunities for the safe play, and encourage physical activity without a lot of external programming and infrastructure. We don't have many other avenues out there to bring that forward for our kids. So since last May, like I mentioned, we've raised $127,000. We've also secured $70,000 of in-kind donations, and local businesses and community members have really banded together to support and help us in these funds. We've purchased our first playground already, and it will be installed as soon as weather is on our side. But why I'm really here today is just to share our progress, our vision, and just ask for your support. We have also been applying for grants as well and putting our pen to paper wherever possible. A contribution from the Region of Queens would accelerate our timeline, strengthen the investment in our rural youth, and help ensure that our children have the same opportunities as those in more serviced areas. We are very rural, and the closest playground right now for them to play at is Greenfield Elementary School and the Greenfield Community, sorry, not the elementary school, but at the community playground there. So in rural communities, small rural community schools are the heart of everything. You'd be investing again in the youth well-being and our rural sustainability and community pride. So thank you very much. Just wanted to take a few minutes and give some supporting information on the grants that you see come across the desk. And thank you all for your support.
Thank you very much for all your efforts, Jill. Great to hear from you this evening. Okay, is there any other member of the community who would like to address council at this time? I don't see anybody else on here, but I'm going to ask a couple more times. Any other member of the community? Any other member of the community want to address council at this time? Okay. With that, I will move us along the agenda. No delegations or presentations today, so we're going to move right into staff reports. 8.1 is a staff report on a flag request. And I believe, Madam Clerk, you're speaking to that one. Is that right, Angela?
Yes, that's
Take
correct.
it away. Take it away.
So, as you know, Region of Queens Municipality has a special purpose flagpole. It is governed by Operational Policy 84, flag flying, or fun with flags, as I like to call it. We have received an application from the Kidney Foundation of Canada, Atlantic Branch, requesting permission to fly a special purpose flag on the municipal special purpose flagpole located at the Town Hall Arts and Cultural Center in recognition of World Kidney Day on March 12th and Kidney Month in March. The request has been submitted in accordance with Operational Policy 84 and meets the requirements outlined in the policy. Council approval is required for special purpose flag flying requests. This report presents the application for council's consideration and recommends approval in recognition of the Kidney Foundation's work in raising awareness and supporting individuals affected by kidney disease.
Thank you, Angela, for that summary. Any questions, clarifications on the report, council? Is there a motion? Roberta, Councilor Roy?
Let me get my mic on here. Uh-oh. I move that the council approve the application from the Kidney Foundation of Canada Atlantic Branch to fly a special purpose flag on the Region of Queens Municipality special purpose flagpole on March 12th, 2026, and in March for the subsequent 5 years in recognition of World Kidney Day in accordance with Operational Policy 84, flag flying.
Thank you very much, Councilor Roy. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councilor Jenkins. Any discussion on this one? Anybody like to speak to it? Hearing or seeing none, and it's a little awkward here with all the various tiles on here, but I don't see any. So speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm going to ask the question. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. That brings us to 8.2, which is about the NSFM, upcoming NSFM spring conference, which is taking place in Yarmouth. And I believe, Madam Clerk, that you're speaking to that one as well.
Yes. So the NSFM Spring Conference provides professional development, legislative updates, and networking opportunities for members of council and senior staff. Attendance supports informed governance and alignment with municipal best practices across Nova Scotia. Council approval is required under Policy 47, council attendance at meetings, workshops, and conferences, for attendance at conferences involving registration fees and overnight accommodation. So this report is seeking council direction regarding attendance at the spring conference for interested members of council, the CAO, and deputy CAO.
Questions? Council, any questions on the report? I know we've seen this one before.
Only question I have is it really that important that we spend this money to attend that conference? I've looked at it, and I honestly don't think that this time that we should be spending the money for that.
Would you like to make a motion, Councillor Jenkins, or no? Deputy Mayor Charlton?
Thank you. I think this is one of the very few ways that council members can do personal development, and I've been to many of these, and although they're not for everyone, and I can certainly understand that, there is a lot of value in these conferences. You get to meet a lot of other municipal colleagues. You get to listen to different approaches that are happening in municipalities that are neighbors and beyond, and often you usually end up finding something that will work for your municipality. You don't have to recreate the wheel. I think it's a really great opportunity for that. I understand that it's not for everyone, and I don't think that everyone likely will want to go, but I think it's a good way to get out in another municipality, Yarmouth, and see what's working for them. They've got a pretty vibrant downtown, and we're looking to revitalize ours, so I think it would be a good opportunity, and I would like to go. Thanks.
So there's a couple options that were framed in the staff report, and so it's option one is to approve attendance for whoever from council would like to attend, members of council, as well as the CAO and the deputy CAO. Option two, you could also approve limited attendance and decide on the fewer members or limited attendance or something else altogether, and like I said, including non-attendance. But so is there any specific clarity, or is there a motion at this time, council? I would like to debate. Councillor Wenzel?
Why don't I put a motion on the floor here, and then we can debate it?
Yeah, that sounds
That
great.
sound okay?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
I'll move the council approve the attendance of interested members of council, the CAO and the deputy CAO at the 2026 Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Spring Conference to be held April 29th to May 1st, 2026 in Yarmouth. In accordance with Policy 47, council attendance at meetings, workshops, and conferences.
Is there a second to that motion? Yeah, thank you, Councillor Wenzel. Moved by Councillor Wenzel, seconded by Councillor Mero. Yeah, so let's debate it. So we've heard some reservations from Councillor Jenkins. I'm not sure if you want to elaborate, Councillor Jenkins, for anybody else wants to get in there.
Well, since I put the motion there, let me just make a couple comments to it.
Certainly. Go ahead, Councillor Wenzel.
I do believe in conferences and conventions as a lifeline, but I'm also a little concerned that they have 2 a year. I can see 1 a year or 1 every 2 years, but 2 a year is concerning for me. But I would still, with that reservation, I would still vote in favor of those who wanted to attend, because I do see some credence in it. So I'll just put that out there.
For me, I think the most important one to attend would be the fall conference, not the spring one. That's what I'm looking at.
The fall conference is definitely the bigger of the two conferences. I would say that this one, if there was a spring conference, that would be a good one to go to. And I would not recommend going to it in Truro if they hosted in Truro again, because it was awful. But Yarmouth is pretty close to us in terms of like cost effectiveness with the and if it is the will of council, I would be interested in going if it's the will of council to support it. I would be able to, I wouldn't have to pay for accommodations. My entire extended family lives in Yarmouth County and I'd never live it down if I didn't stay with one of my relatives. But how do other members of council feel about the motion that's on the floor? Go ahead, Councilor Romero. I'm nodding at people and realizing that you can't tell I'm nodding at you.
I agree with these conferences. I think that council should always be given the opportunity for collaboration with other municipalities and learning. So I'm all for these. I think it's great for the different municipalities to come together, brainstorm on the problems, the solutions. So that's my viewpoint. Thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I think also just to note, some members might not be familiar with this, but the fall conference is always held at the Westin in Halifax, but the spring conferences move around. And so a few years ago, we did have the spring conference at White Point. So it is an opportunity for municipalities to welcome colleagues into their municipal units and highlight their areas. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. But I just wanted to share that.
I think from my perspective, the way that these ones are a little bit different is that in comparison to conferences and symposiums that I attended to in other aspect of my professional life, these ones are a little bit different because they're organized by the NSFM and which is an advocacy, an organization and a vehicle for advocacy. And so I know that there's a call out right now for a working group on rural roads, for example. And we know that J-class roads and upgrading of K-class roads is a major concern. Maintenance of provincial roads in rural areas is a major concern for a lot of our residents and is something that we're concerned about in terms of downloading of that responsibility. So that's something that I would like to be able to meet. I've applied to that committee and would like to. So attending the NSFN conference provides you an opportunity to meet face to face with the people who are engaged in that work. And so I think particularly for members of council who are engaged in the NSFM in some capacity, that it is a really important opportunity to come together with your colleagues from other municipal units who are engaged in that work as well, which of course is why it's so important for Deputy Mayor Charlton to attend the conferences in her capacity as a regional representative on the NSFM board. Yeah, so I'm in favor of this one. I think it's good that this comes to council on a case-by-case basis and that we don't just have a sweeping policy or motion whereby there's always all of council, all of interested council and senior management who attend every NSFN conference. I think it's a good idea that it comes back for discussion, but I am going to be supportive of the motion today. Is there anybody else who'd like to contribute their thoughts on this one? Go ahead, Councillor Fancy.
Yes, I know through the years, I haven't gone to that many conferences, but you meet other people in other districts and you start to be able to get that interchanging between the people that you wouldn't get if you don't go to things like this or other committees. I always say people try to get on as many committees as you can so you can be able to talk to other people. So there might be questions you never even thought of asking before. I still always have the one problem with these conferences, and I keep saying it over and over again. Sometimes it's one thing I want to see or hear about, and you've got to go to a 3-day conference to be able to go to it. So I wish they would somewhere along the way break that up so they could be able to get so you'd just be able to go to one day, but I'm in favor of this.
That might be a good piece of feedback, Deputy Mayor, to in your capacity as regional rep on the NSFM board, to ask if there would be an opportunity for some a la carte offerings, because I know some other conferences do that, where you can buy a half day. You don't need to purchase like the whole kit and caboodle. That there's some nuance there. But go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. That has been discussed at NSFM before, but just within the last year. But that's their biggest source of revenue. Like those conferences, they make so much revenue off of them that's the risk to that. If you set it up so that you could only go for a day, their revenue is suggested to decrease significantly, and so it wasn't something that ended up being supported at the board, but it was discussed because there are some folks that find themselves in that same situation. They could go for, a day, but maybe not 3, but that's where that's landed.
Thanks. It's a good discussion on that, I think. Any last words before I ask the question? All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, one opposed. Clerk. Motion's carried. 8.3 is a report coming forward about the renaming of what was formerly called the Dismantling Discrimination and Hate, or is currently called the Dismantling Discrimination and Hate. And it's also Angela speaking to this one too. Big. Is that right?
Nope, this one's on Director McConnell.
Okay, there you are, Holly. I didn't see your square. What were they called? What was that game show called? Where
Square, sorry.
with the celebrities and the
right on.
Sorry, take it away, Director
Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares. Thank you very much.
That's what it is. So close. Yes, so the IQ committee, or the Dismantling Discrimination and Hate Committee, has expressed their desire to change the name. They find the name to be a bit on the aggressive side currently. And based on what it is that they would like to do and have done in this committee, they've put forward the request to have council provide their approval to change the committee name to the Inclusion Queens Committee, or in short, the IQ Committee.
And I'll just, as the chair of this committee, I'll just provide my sense on this, is that I think the group found that the notion of inclusion is broadly what the committee is intended to do. And so that dismantling discrimination and hate, while action oriented, doesn't really, I think, resonate with the committee members who really want to provide that advisory support to council with respect to how we're going to move the needle in creating an fostering an inclusive atmosphere within the organization and then within the broader community as the local government. And so that's where the notion of inclusion came from. And so that's where the suggested name, the proposed name, is sort of that's resonating with this group, is this notion of inclusion as if you're going to pick one thing in that whole sort of EDI landscape. The feeling was that inclusion is sort of a capture-all. And so the Inclusion Queens Committee is what was proposed. So I'm not sure if there are any questions on it. I know that the mandate and the terms of reference for this group, there is going to be a draft mandate of terms of reference, a revised, updated version because we're repositioning this one from what was previously the DIAT, the Diversity Inclusion Action Team. And so there will be, following the staff report, at a later meeting, a recommended and draft mandate or terms of reference for council's consideration. But at this point, just looking to rename it.
Correct.
Is there a motion, or is there a member of the council willing to move that the council direct that the committee currently known as the Dismantling Discrimination and Hate EDI Committee be renamed the Inclusion Queens Committee? Moved by Councillor Carver. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councillor Roy. Discussion? Any discussion, council? All those in favor? Carried.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Holly. Okay, moving right along here. So moving on to section 9, which is our bylaws and policies. So we have this second reading bylaw number 14 on tax exemptions. Director Vino, I know we've seen this one, we've heard this one. Could you just provide us with a really high-level summary of what we're looking at here?
Absolutely. So this is the second reading of the bylaws stated in the staff report. So every year council reviews. This is our property bylaw, not to be confused with our low income tax policy, which is people. This is our properties. And so council can set a bylaw that exempts certain properties in their community from property taxes. And this year we have some additions. We have the Milton Community Association who took over ownership of our old pool site. We have the water treatment plant that PVSC has moved from exempt over onto the actual assessable role. So we have to get council to exempt it. And lastly, we have the Lavina building, which is probably the most substantial change because it used to be 50%. And now the foundation has asked that it be 100% at a cost of about $4,400 a year in lost revenue.
And for any members of council that don't know which building that is, that's the building that previously would have had a dentist office in it. It's immediately adjacent or beside the hospital. That's where people park when they go to the merge when they're not supposed to. That building that's owned and operated by the hospital foundation, nonprofit. Any questions for Director Vino on the staff report or the contents of the bylaw number 14? Okay, is there a motion? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I move that council give second reading and adopt bylaw number 14 respecting tax exemptions as presented.
Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councillor Jenkins. Further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing, hearing none, I'll ask the question. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, and then we have 9.2, which is amendment of the admin policy number 60 on solid waste fees. Is that you too?
It is. Lucky you.
Take it away.
So we have Director Grant, who isn't here with us this evening, introduced policy number 60, solid waste, this year, and it incorporates the fees. So typically I would have brought in the past, I would have just brought you a staff report with the tipping fees, but now they belong to the policy. So now it's introduced as an amendment to the policy. So just a brief review, there are basically two sets of people who use our solid waste facility. We have the contracted partners, which are our government partners that have that restriction of the amount that we can increase by 10 years of CPI. And then we have the other users who don't have that same restriction in place. Although when staff look at the increases on the tipping fees, we always look to make sure they're not cost prohibitive for our users, while still balancing out that there is increases in costs that the facility is experiencing every year. So this year, just as a summary, we have the 2.51% increase in our contracted partners. And I've also increased the non-contracted partners by 10. Last year it was 20, this year it's 10. And I've been very cautious about reducing it more than 10 because I do understand that 20% last year and 10% this year, obviously everyone is very sensitive to price these days. The septic disposal rate, I've also increased 10%, and that's part of our solid wastewater treatment facility. Does council have any questions about those things?
Okay, so with the contracted local government, so the 2.51% that's proposed in here, that's the maximum permittable increase.
That's correct. Under the current contracts that I believe are up for renewal within the next year and a half, that is what we are limited to increase by. Yes, is 10 years rolling CPI.
Thank you. Any questions, clarifications? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just wondered, so I understand that we're limited to that policy with the external tipping fees, and those can't be discussed and implemented and anything changed till 2027, I believe. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, how do we compare to others? Have we done any comparisons to see what our neighbors would charge, like the residents versus external? I mean, realizing that the external piece is going to have to be a separate piece, but I guess I'm asking that because I'm wondering if if the increases to our residents are unfair because of that old policy that has bound us for so long that we really can't touch. Just wondering if you could comment on that.
Well, I know it's my understanding that residents get a certain number of tipping privileges for free every month. I believe it's 4. So this would really just be affecting contractors, local contractors. I have seen that there's other contractors from out of town that use our solid waste facility. Have I done a jurisdictional scan? No, because I've concentrated on looking at our revenue streams and our cost structure versus someone else's. I certainly can do that. I've set the budget based on these increases here, our draft budget. If council would like me to go back and look at what other, I guess, joint services board would be the other, Kaiser Meadows would be kind of, because that's joint services board as a transfer station. So I would look at Kaiser Meadows as kind of a comparable. Certainly staff can do that if council wishes.
And Deputy Mayor, just in your question, when you were saying the old policy, you're just talking about the old contracts that we have in place with the other municipalities. Is that what you meant?
So it's my understanding with this, if you look at the tipping fee schedule, what the 10% increase is for residents of Queens, or within Queens, business within Queens, I think, is that how that's articulated, Director Bino? Just want to pull it back up here.
Yeah, so it would be, so if it was on the residential side, it would be after they use their 4 free ones.
Right. So yeah, generated within Region of Queens versus generated outside of Region of Queens. And so the ones that are generated outside Region of Queens are they're limited to that 10-year as she previously mentioned. And so that will be addressed moving forward in 2027. But my question, I was just asking because yes, residents can take 4 trips to the landfill, but these charges would be like local contractors. So when you hire a carpenter to do a project at your house, these are the fees that they would be paying because they don't get any freebies on a monthly basis. And so I was just wondering if we're comparable. I was just trying to understand, are we within reason, kind of other things, because it has been recognized that the tipping fees externally that were put in over 25 years ago or whatever it was are so low and we haven't been able to do anything about it. I just wondered if those, if we raised it 20% last year and we raised it 10% this year, is it kind of like fair and equitable, or are we filling a gap with and kind of potentially penalizing that? That's what I was worried about, I guess.
I think if you're looking at spreading the cost across all of our contracted and non-contracted partners, the answer is absolutely the non-contracted partners are picking up the slack for the contracted partners. The reality is that we're not covering our costs based on what I've seen. for any of the contracted partners because we have been limited so long. I mean, we've gone through years where inflation is over 7% and we're limited to charge, you know, like that 10-year rolling CPI, and it's been in place for 20 years. I think it's like a 25-year lease, maybe longer. I don't know. Dr. Grant has the contract, but I don't think it would be out of the realm of possibility to think that our non-contracted users of the solid waste facility have been supplementing it. I don't know that we have exorbitant pricing related to others. I've seen people from Lunenburg County on the list and people from Queens County on the list, both contractors and from the Valley on the list, to be honest. So I would have to, you know, do some research. It wouldn't take me very long to go through and see what the amounts per ton are and what the usage is, because it's not just about the price per ton. It's about, you know, what you can do. Are they very strict? I mean, all of those sorted, not sorted things, so it have to be looked at. But yeah, certainly staff can go back and look at those if you would like us to.
Okay, so there's a couple options presented in the staff report, and so Deputy Mayor has identified her interest to have a bit of a jurisdictional review to look at where our tipping fees will land in comparison to other similar and comparable operations or solid waste management facilities. Yeah, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is the best time or not. I guess I'd be curious to hear what other members of council thought before we entertain maybe that motion, Mr. Mayor. But I'm just wondering, the tipping fees, like the revenue that would come from this, just for clarity, Director Vino, is this money that is collected? Is this currently going right in the reserve for the post-closure?
No,
No.
a certain amount. So what happens is, so the tipping fees that you're seeing here are for our non-contracted partners. First of all, they're not for our contracted partners. And the second thing is the part of these fees are allocated to the post-closure fees. When we record the revenue, we pull a certain amount out and we increase that certain amount for our contracted partners by 2.5%. But I can't, and there's still only, I think I said it's like 45% of what it should be, basically, because we can't charge the full amount, which is something that we have to look at when we're renegotiating our pricing for the upcoming contracts. And it's the same for our non-contracted partners. I have not put in the actual post-closure charge per metric ton that the calculations tell me to do, because I know that it's cost prohibitive to users. So we've tried our best to try and reach a balance of what we feel we can get, what we feel is reasonable for our users versus what we understand will have to be compensated for at the back end when council makes their decision on, do they expand the cell or do they use the post-closure reserve that we currently have in existence. So not all of these fees, to be clear, are going to the reserve. A portion is, and if you look on the operating budget, you'll see that portion is broken out. It's called reserve closure costs, non-Queens.
Okay.
And that we pull that out every month as part of the reconciliation of all the solid waste billing. And so both the Queens contribution and the non-Queens contribution, when added together, I think in the current budget is just over $1 million a year that we will be putting into that post-closure reserve. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I just wanted clarity on that. At this point, Mr. Mayor, I'm not putting a motion forward for a jurisdictional scan. I'm fine to support the motion that's proposed, but I think as we are going through the review of the tipping fees for external, that it should include this jurisdictional scan to make sure that within Queens isn't taking on more than they need to, and it's like a fair process. So that would be my expectation moving forward.
Right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other questions, Council? Is there a motion? Recommended motion in the staff report is that the council receive the report titled Amendment to Administrative Policy Number 60 Solid Waste Fees and approve the amended tipping fee schedule for the 26-27 fiscal year as presented. Is there any member of council? Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Merrill. Further debate or discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Wenzel.
Just a housekeeping, I think. Why are we calling this an amendment to a policy when it's just raising fees? Why does it have to be an amendment? I don't quite understand that.
It's my understanding that if there's any change in the policy and the fee is a part of the policy, that we have to amend the policy. I mean, let's get our municipal clerk maybe can help us out. Help me out.
As any change to a policy, including any fee schedule, is an amendment to the policy. Hence why we would eventually like to move towards not having fee schedules in our policies and bylaws.
But presently, that's where it lives. Okay, anything further?
Where's mud?
I'll ask the question. All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Thanks, Council. 9.3 is some numbering corrections. This one has to be the municipal clerk.
This one is totally me. So, as you'll see from the report, there was 3 administrative policies that are actually development agreements that were misnumbered. They were all numbered number 57. And there is also an existing 57. So I am bringing this report to you today to get council's approval to renumber them as administrative policies 61, 62, and 63. There's no changes to the policies whatsoever. This is 100% administrative cleaning up.
I have a question. Why are development agreements admin policies?
Just the way it is.
Always? It just seems so bizarre. Like a development agreement with a specific resident or residents, and they're listed as administrative policies. It's very curious to me.
As far as I'm aware, it's because development agreements live outside the land use bylaw and municipal strategy and everything. However, individual deals are made and it becomes a policy because policies are the rules that we follow and govern how we do things.
Any other questions or clarifications, Council? I wonder if it would help us just from an accessibility perspective to list the development agreements in a separate list, because I know that it's just like as navigating the website, we have a whole lot of admin policies and then a bunch of development agreements and then some admin policies. So it's kind of clunky.
I can look into it.
Thank you. Okay, so the recommended motion here, and it's very kind of housekeeping, that the council approve the correction of numbering of the following policies. Admin policy 57, respecting a development agreement for a multiple unit dwelling at 6755 Highway 3, Hunts Point, which shall be renumbered as administrative policy 61, and administrative policy 57, respecting a development agreement for a fixed roof overnight accommodation in South Brookfield, which shall be renumbered as administrative policy 62, and administrative policy 57, respecting a development agreement for a 33 turbine generator wind farm development, which shall be renumbered as administrative policy 63, and that the corrections be administrative in nature only, with no changes to the content, intent, or effect of the policies. Is there a member of council who would like to move that forward? Moved by Councillor Roy. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Councillor Carver. Anybody like to debate the renumbering? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Okay. So we received a piece of correspondence from Debbie J. Wombolt respecting the market stall use and community food security. Now that Val of BJ has announced the retirement, Council, have you had a chance to review the letter that was submitted by Ms. Wombolt? Okay. Discussion. I'll open it up for reflections or discussion on what was put forward by what was proposed by Ms. Wombolt. Anybody have any thoughts on this one? Go ahead, Councilor Miro.
I just think it's a great idea to recognize such a wonderful, hardworking person that provided such a essential service to our community. She doesn't even live in this community, but traveled here every day, day after day, year after year, just to service our community. And I think we really need to recognize that. I do have a question though. In Debbie Wombolt's letter, she stated about the cost of rent for the market stall. Could you tell me what that is for the season or for the year? Would we know that information?
I'm not sure if staff has that at their fingertips. I agree. Yeah, I didn't know that there was any that Val rented that stall, or that we that there was a lease agreement in place there. My sense of it is that I think it does make sense to God, the words, but to honor, to recognize the contributions of Val. And I know that some of the suggestions or proposal put forward by Ms. Wombolt too. I'm not exactly sure, like legally, and like what exactly would be appropriate options for us to explore with respect to that space. So I would be in favor of receiving the report and directing staff to look into some options and explore and come back with some potential options for us to consider in terms of how we repurpose that stall. I agree. I think it should be used for as a market stall for produce. But I don't know exactly the appropriate mechanisms or the approach there. So I would like to get some input and some options laid out from staff personally.
I'm just wondering if maybe our community economic development officer could devise a plan with our community health board, and maybe fill this gap. I'm just wondering if it could be, a combination of the two putting their heads together there.
Yeah, so I think we have a lot more flexibility if it's a community group. If it's a for-profit, like private business, I know that there are more sensitivities and constraints and processes that we need to follow with respect to the way that the handling use of public property, and entering agreements with private businesses. So I would like some clarity on that. Others? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I would be in favor of having that information come back. I've certainly never seen a lease agreement, so I'm not familiar with like the cost of anything that Valerie would have paid to be there over the years or anything like that. In regard to the recognition, I think this would be a great opportunity for a milestone certificate from the Region of Queens to be presented to Valerie for all of her contributions. And just for context, residents can request those. There are certain provisions around, anniversaries and birth dates. They're not for every birthday or every anniversary. They, usually are, I think, 80 and above for birthdays or something like that. But there are special circumstances where they are presented, and I think this would certainly warrant that. So I would be in favor of something official like that going forward to her for all her efforts.
I agree too. I think that's a fantastic idea. So maybe something like the council that the council issue. What did you call it? Pardon me, Deputy Mayor. What did you call it? A milestone certificate?
Yeah, it would be one of our milestone certificates in that format.
Okay.
As a thank you. Might be a little bit of a different approach, but.
Right. And so perhaps that the council direct staff to prepare a milestone certificate for and pardon me, I don't know if I have Val's full name here. I believe it's in the, maybe it's not. Valerie Jollymore. Yeah, prepare a milestone certificate for Valerie Jollymore, recognizing her contributions to the community as an entrepreneur, and referring the correspondence respecting the market stall use of community food security to staff for review, and a report outlining options, implications, and resource requirements. Member Council willing to move that motion? Moved by Councillor Merrow. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Charlton. That's your name. Further debate or discussion? Any further debate or discussion? I appreciate Ms. Wombolt's correspondence. I think we do need to make sure that that we make use of that stall. People do rely. We don't have great access to fresh produce, and so people do and did rely on that as a really important access point for fresh fruits and vegetables. So I agree. I think that it is going to be imperative for us to look at it. But I know too that there were concerns about the state of that structure. And so I think it will be good for us to have a complete understanding about what sort of what appropriate resource allocation looks like, and identifying the appropriate way to find a vendor to be successful in that location. I'll ask the question. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, no reports for in camera. And so I will provide just a brief mayor's report here. So yeah, my mayor's report for February 24th. So last week, and we heard from Mr. Tyler on this one, but last week, the Nova Scotia Aquaculture Review Board released their decision to approve the boundary expansion application, which Kelly Cove Salmon made for the Coffin Island site, which is just off the end of the Beach Meadows Beach. And as interveners, Region of Queens as interveners who oppose this application is clearly disappointed with the decision. But I wanted to take just a moment to thank our residents who took the time and energy, and in some cases criticism, for coming forward to provide testimony and evidence and an oral statement in support of our intervention. I think it's quite unfortunate that members of the community have pointed out where under cross-examination, the relevance, accuracy, or legitimacy of the testimony and evidence that was provided by some of those folks was undermined. And I just wanted to highlight, because it doesn't seem to be well highlighted or balanced in some of the reporting on this, that was unfortunately, I believe, a function of the way that the process was set up, and that that testimony and those statements that were collected from witnesses were done so in preparation for what was going to be the initially scheduled and broader scope application before the Aquaculture Review Board.
And then when that hearing didn't take place and was then rescheduled with a different scope and a refined scope that only dealt with the boundary expansion at Coffin Island, there was not an opportunity for those statements to be updated. And I think that that's problematic, and I think it led to some of what we're seeing. And I just think it's really important that we identify that we just give our thanks and our gratitude to those folks who came forward to speak in support of our intervention, despite the fact that it was quite uncomfortable, the process. And thanks also to the staff and our legal counsel who supported our efforts as interveners. And I know I personally, as mayor, will continue to strongly oppose the expansion of open pen finfish farms in our waters. February 13th, 16th, I just want to celebrate and highlight the Heritage Day weekend. On Heritage Day weekend, we had hosted the Ted Foster Memorial Hockey Tournament at Queen's Place. It was a great success, fantastic community event, really good turnout, really good feedback. I had the honor to provide opening remarks and to host the opening ceremonies on Saturday night. Ted's wife and son joined me for the ceremonial puck drop, and they were incredibly honored. They were touched to see Ted's legacy of fostering teamwork and community pride really carried forward through the tradition of this hockey tournament. And so just a huge thanks to everyone who came out, but especially to the organizers and the staff at QPEC for pulling off what was a fantastic 4-day event. I think this really has the potential to grow into something bigger. Certainly, really, really good feedback from all of the participating teams and the parents surrounding that. Everybody was blown away by the event. So next time, so I think we can do bigger and better things. It's really great to see this type of activity happening, this type of event happening at QPEC. And next time, we'll just have to make sure that nobody has any balloons near any electrical wires. I'm not sure if people found out about that, but on Sunday night when QPEC was packed, we lost power for about an hour. Try to avoid that in the future. No fault, of course, to the organizers or any of our staff. Totally unrelated. February 18th, I attended a fire services and modernization engagement session, which is hosted by the province. Several other members of the council attended that as well. And legislation was actually tabled yesterday by Minister Maslin in her capacity as the Minister of Emergency Management. And from my perspective, modernization of fire services, particularly in rural areas, is desperately needed. And we need to continue to work with the NSFM and AMANS and our provincial counterparts to advocate for a future of fire services that works with the realities of fire services in Queens. And I know that there is some level of discomfort amongst municipal units that the proposals that have been or the model that's being proposed by the province at this point, but there's some serious concerns about what that means for municipalities and for fire services, and so that's going to be a file that continues to evolve. But I have to say that I think it is important that we're talking about modernization of fire services. And then February 20th, I met with, so last Friday, met with Minister Maslin and representatives from the Department of Public Works, the Provincial Department of Public Works, to discuss underlying challenges that we're having with the Liverpool Town Bridge. We talked realignment of the lines, talked about more accessible sidewalks, talked about persistent issues with potholing. I think it was a good meeting. I'm encouraged that we should be able to work together to improve critical infrastructure for the people of Queens County, and discuss this with our CAO as well. And I think that I'm hoping that we're going to land in a better spot where we can work closely. Our public works team and the provincial public works team can work to ensure that that critical infrastructure for the people of Queens County is in place and well attended to. That's it for my mayor's report. Any comments or questions for me? Go ahead, Councillor Wenzel.
Well, one comment and one question. My comment would be the hockey tournament that you graced was the George Fletcher Memorial. You called it.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, of course. The George Fletcher. What I called it, the Ted Foster. That's the ATV run.
Yes.
Pardon me, the George Fletcher Memorial Hockey Tournament. Thanks very much, Councillor Wenzel.
The other question I have, the model that you talked about for firefighters that the province has put out with this budget or whatever, how they put that out. Is there any chance that we can see that, or you can lead me
it's
to
publicly,
that?
it's publicly available. So if you look up, it was commissioned by FSANS, by the Fire Service Association in Nova Scotia. So if you just look up FSANS fire service modernization, you'll find it, and lots of media around it.
Well, I've got a couple questions to me from councillors that I know, from an MLA that I know, saying, what is Queen's position? What do you know about it? And I know nothing. So maybe I'll either direct them to you, or maybe you can direct me to find an answer for them. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. But there also too is the province has offered to do a Q&A, kind of a information session specifically with I believe, is that right, Angela? With our organization specifically.
Yes, that's correct. I'm just waiting for 2 responses to my scheduling poll, and then I will schedule that.
I gotta take that offline.
Those 2 people probably know who they are. So.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I did my poll, just saying.
You did.
Mine won't work. Just saying.
Councillor Wenzel, you should have correspondence from NSFM as well with links to the fire service review. So if you just type NSFM in your handy little search bar there on Outlook, you should have a few recent emails that you can find all the links for that.
Yeah, they provide links as well as some kind of boiled down, because it's a thick read, but some boiled down kind of summary, and specifically with the lens of the impact on municipalities as well. Yeah, there's a lot in it, and I'm not sure because I haven't had the time. My understanding is that the legislation that was tabled yesterday by Minister Maslin, there's elements of it that don't reflect exactly what's in the report. Some pieces are there and some pieces aren't. So, but there is also a call. The NSFM, and David Mitchell, the president of the NSFM, is posting a call. Not tomorrow, on the 26th, just with respect to some of the budget implications, and I'm not sure if that may come up there as well. Maybe it won't. So it
is a bill,
NSFM.
right?
Yep.
It's a bill on fire service protection.
Correct. That's right. But the FSANS report is sort of the the underlying kind of report that.
Right.
Yep.
The bill is what you think is a thick read? The bill itself?
The report is what I was talking about. Yeah.
Okay. The bill is probably way.
I haven't looked at the bill. Yes, I haven't looked at the bill. Any other questions or comments? And my apologies to George's family. Yes, the George Fletcher Memorial Hockey Tournament. My apologies. Go ahead, Councillor Fancy.
Yes, one thing that I had heard back from some people who had been to this review with the fish farms was that the people there was no chance for people to come back to prove their remarks when they say something like there was rope found, and they said, well, how do you know it was from there? And they could have proven where it came from, but they never gave them any opportunity. So it was some people were very frustrated and things like that. But anyway, it is what it is. I guess we go forward. One other thing that I should have asked right at the beginning, but when we started the meeting and I forgot, completely slipped in my mind. But tomorrow we have at 1 p.m. at the Liverpool Library is the Protecting Our Stories. I don't know if everybody's heard about that or not. It's from Birchtown, from the Black Loyalist Heritage Center. They have someone coming down to speak on the importance of preserving, sharing, and safeguarding the Black Loyalist histories. So I don't know if there was no time, no special spot to bring this into, but I thought I'd better put it out there so everybody will know. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fancy. Great. Okay. And so just moving on to council business. So Councillor Marrow, 14.1 on the Police Advisory Board's recommendation. Pass it over to you.
Yes, at the February 19th meeting of the Police Advisory Board, members met with Staff Sergeant Frenette to discuss current policing capacity within the Queens District. Staff Sergeant Frenette advised that the addition of 2 GIS, which stands for General Investigation Section members, would strengthen the detachment's ability to carry out more complex and proactive investigations. He further noted the Queens District is currently the only district in Southwest Nova without GIS members, and that this gap requires our general duty members to divert from their primary responsibilities to address investigative demands. This will also ensure that these members stay under the direction of Queens County RCMP. Queens County's district's policing model relies almost exclusively on general duty policing and lacks the investigative infrastructure now standard in most districts. Following that discussion, the Police Advisory Board passed a motion recommending that council consider directing staff to include 2 GIS officers in the draft 2026-2027 operating budget. In response to the board's recommendation and in recognition of council's responsibility to ensure appropriate policing resources are available to serve our residents, I'm bringing forward the following motion. I move that council consider the addition of 2 GIS RCMP officers at an estimated cost of $225,000 per officer for a total of $450,000, and that staff be directed to incorporate this amount into the draft 2026-2027 operating budget for council's consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marrow. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Charlton. Councillor Marrow, since you moved the motion, do you want to speak to it further?
I think it's pretty well, it pretty well lays out everything that was discussed. This is a very important step for Queens County. Our general duty officers now sometimes are taken away for special investigative purposes, and it leaves us with less officers on duty. And it's been noted as quite a problem. So yeah.
Madam Clerk, just a point of clarification. So we can pass this motion, but then it has to be considered during budget deliberation, the actual spend. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Go ahead. Thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. The other thing that I guess I would just add to that, also as a member of the Police Advisory Board, is that there are concerns with drugs in our community. And I hear some people say, you know, they're not really that visible, but I think by the time you get to it where it's super visible, it's really hard to manage and deal with. And so this would also allow for that to have more time spent on it. Right now, I mean, there have been I think a few, you know, larger drug busts in our community, but they rely on resources in other detachments, not our local ones. And I think that will be challenging as time goes on. So I think, you know, something that we heard in our strategic, or not our strategic sessions, but our town halls, is that people want more visibility from the police. They want more speed, speeding, they want more speeders targeted, they want more checkpoints, they just want more visibility, whether it's at the skate park or where it is. So I think that, it's worth considering. The request is for two additions, but council can consider in budget, of course. And if it's not two and it's one, it would still be an improvement from what we have. But I think it's worth considering the two officers for the reasons that Councillor Miro mentioned and the one that I just mentioned as well. Thanks.
Any other input, council? Anyone else like to speak? Go ahead, Councillor Fancy.
Yes, as it's already been mentioned, I know I was up to Dartmouth, and it was surprising to me that when we were looking, and there was only a couple counties that didn't even have any representation, it was kind of concerning to me, especially when there were things that went on here in our town, and we had to bring people from outside. So I think there's a definite need. My concern would be is that, do we need two at this time? I mean, do we need two? Yes, we do. But can we afford two at this particular time? Can we use one here and one from Shelburne, one from here, and one from Bridgewater to work together? I mean, it doesn't work as effectively, but when we look at tax rates and everything else and how much it's going to cost, I think I would be more inclined to be looking for one at this time.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Jenkins.
I think from our trip up to Dartmouth, it was proven quite easily that having one is almost like having none. It's two people working on an investigation. They cover for each other, and they do everything that they need to keep that investigation working. One officer, and then he has to wait for somebody to come from Shelburne because I think they only have one, and they're always borrowing from somewhere else. So they'd have to wait for Lunenburg County and stuff. I don't think that the problem that we want to address would be addressed by having only one officer. I hate to spend the money, especially when we saw what our budget's like and whatnot, but we have to get up with the times and get this problem looked after or at least start getting looked after in a timely manner. I mean, when they start seeing packages of needles around downtown Liverpool and stuff, there's something wrong here and we need to address it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jenkins. Everybody okay if I ask the question? All those in favor? All those against? 2 opposed. Madam Clerk, motion's carried. Okay, I think that does it. Yep. So I'll adjourn the meeting at 6:57. Thank you all very much for your contributions.